Changing minds one thought at a time.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Changing Minds Online Sunday Inspirational Call. How are you doing today, Jessica?
I'm doing really well, Akina. You know, tonight I was in New Jersey where I am. It's starting to get a little chilly. It's starting to get cold out. And, you know, it is so easy to just kind of sit and, you know, Christmas movies are coming on, which are kind of my favorite, and to sit on the couch and, you know, order some food in and, you know, make some hot cocoa or some hot tea and just kind of lounge around. But I decided tonight, you know, and I didn't want to do it. I said, you know what, I should go to yoga, go to Bikram yoga. And that's hot yoga. You really work your muscles. And, you know, I just was like, I was making every excuse why I shouldn't go. But I was thinking, and I said, you know what, I said, commitment, you know, when you're committed to something, it's not always convenient, but you don't always want to do it. But, excuse me, I'm really glad that I did because I am feeling amazing right now. And just, you know, as I'm winding down my evening, I don't want to say energized, but I'm invigorated and ready to start, excuse me, and start my week strong. So if you guys were following our podcast last week, you know that I am recovering from not feeling very well. So please bear with me as I am losing my voice tonight. But I am excited to start my week really, really strong. I just finished planning out my week, and I know we're going to be talking a bit about that tonight. So I'm really ready for our show tonight.
Yes, Jessica, you know, I went on my vacation started this week, and it sent me to San Francisco. It started in San Francisco this time, and I went to a seminar, a class, Creative Live class with Sue B. Zimmerman, and a lot of the parts that she was talking about was about planning and about how we need to be successful, we really need to plan, and we need to really, you know what's going on, plan 3, 6, 9 months out, you know, and really take a grasp of that. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, planning for new beginnings. And, you know, as y'all all know, Jessica and I have been doing this podcast since last April, and we have been evolving throughout this time. And so, you know, we definitely have some great surprises coming for you. So we are in the planning process as well. We're planning our new beginnings. And, you know, if you go onto our Facebook page, you can find our show tonight, and you can post about your new beginnings as well. You know, we want to hear from you. We want to know how the show motivated you. And we also want to know what you're doing so we can support you. Isn't that right, Jessica?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it wasn't planned. But do you think it's time we announce we have only another, my goodness, 4 weeks left for the new year, really, when you think about the holidays in terms of how many shows, right, we have left. I think it's even less shows, and we do have it planned out. So if I had my planner in front of me, I would be able to tell you. Do you think it's time we announce what our new beginnings are going to look like next year for our show?
You know what, Jessica? This is a perfect opportunity to go ahead and do that. Well, you know, of course we're going to keep the Empowering Women series. You know, that's our love. You know, we love to empower and inspire all of you women. But we're going to add some more flavor to the mix. Jessica, tell us about our new flavor.
All right. Well, thanks, Akina. So anyone who's followed our podcast, and if you listening for the first time, then, you know, just keep listening. You can find out what's going to be going on. And if you've been with us a while, you're going to be really excited to hear this. So we have currently had our Empowering Women series and our Sunday Night Inspirational Call. So this is our Sunday Night Inspirational Call. And what we've done typically on these calls is our Empowering Women series. It is really business training, life training. We've had everything on this call, from doctors to attorneys to accountants to mindset experts to people talking about feng shui and spiritual healing. We've had everything on this call, anything really to empower women to really live balanced and fulfilled lives in all areas of their life. And then we have our Sunday night call, which is really inspirational. we like to focus a lot about mindset. This is where Keenan and I take you with us on our journey of personal development. But you know what? We have, Keenan and I both are also doing something, really exciting. And that's, I have, and I don't think I've announced this on the call yet. This is the first time you guys are finding out, but I have actually become an ordained minister. And I know Akina is also in the process of that, and as her faith is very important to her. So what we decided to do was that we wanted to add a call that was a faith-based call, but we wanted to separate it, and we didn't want to change what we were already doing. So we have our Empowering Women series. We decided to rename our inspirational call to our Empowering Mindset series. So we're going to focus really solely on mindset on that call. And then we have, a brand new series we're going to be launching, and that's going to be our Empowering Faith series. And that will be a Christian-based call. That'll be specifically a faith-based call. We'll be bringing on both men and women on that call, and we will bring in ministers and pastors and different leaders in to really just teach us how to have a balanced life. So for Akeen and I, and this is something, we're going to be really authentic about. And again, guys, I know Akina just let me know my voice is muffled. I apologize. I'm doing my best. I'm losing my voice. I'm actually shouting what feels like on the top of my lungs right now, and I know it's still quiet. But, Akina and I have really evolved on our journey. And one of the things that we've learned about ourselves is really there's strength in being vulnerable. And that in order to really help everyone, in order to really be the best we can be, and to give you the best versions of ourselves, it requires that we're authentic. For me, separating my faith and separating everything that I'm doing in my business, I can't do that because, for me, my power comes from God. God lives in me, and He gives me all of my power, and that power is what I'm using to create everything in my life. So while we have our Empowering Women series, our Mindset series, and our Faith series, they will be 3 distinct calls. So on our Faith series, we're going to talk about God. On our Mindset series, we'll talk just about mindset. And on our Business series, we're going to talk really empowering women just about business or whatever other topic, related to women we come up with, whether it's health or branding, whatever it is. But, we're going to give you everything. So it's really going to be very inclusive. So we're going to help you from all aspects. And we're going to really be touching on really this balanced life and how to have everything from all aspects, and for us, faith is a really big, important part of that. And the only other change is that we're moving the time. So in my, I'm going to be 30 this year, and in celebration of my being 30, my old age, I've acquired new sleeping habits. And whereas I used to go to bed very late and wake up late, I now go to bed early and wake up early. So in respect of that schedule, we are actually going to be moving the show back an hour. So we're going to be starting at 8 p.m. in Eastern Time. So that's going to be our Empowering Faith series. Akina and I thought it would be appropriate to move that call to be our Sunday call, just because we typically go to church on Sundays, and I think most people do. So we're going to be doing that call on Sundays, our Empowering Faith call. An Empowering Mindset series, that'll be on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And our Empowering Women series will remain on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. And Akina, if there's something you want to add to why this is important for you, that we're adding this new call as well.
Oh, yes, most definitely. It is time for us to, listen to each and every one of you. Many of you have really responded to our faith-based calls. You have responded to our mindset calls. And, of course, you've always responded to our Empowering Women series. And we wanted to give you more of what you've been responding to. So this is for you. We want to empower you in your walk, whether it be professional, personal, or spiritual. And that's what we're here to do for you. So thank you so much to our faithful listeners. And we want to welcome and thank our new listeners as they come in to the fold. And we want to just give you great content and show you great love and show you great information so that you can move to your greater. Yes.
Absolutely. So last week, Akina, we talked about finishing this year off really strong. We talked about not giving up, and knowing that you might have set goals to achieve by the end of the year, and it may look like those goals may not be able to happen. And I have personal goals that I know I set, and I always play really big. I always set really big goals. And some of them I've accomplished a lot this year, and I've accomplished some of the goals and then some. And then there's goals that I have set that look like it may not happen, but I haven't given up on them. And knowing that even if I just get closer in the next, 40 days left? I actually don't know the count. We did tell you last week. Akina, do you know how many days are left in the year?
We are close to 40 because we were at 46 last week.
That's so
I guess we're at
39. 39 days, yes. Not that it's relevant, but, you may be able to say, okay, well, there's only 39 days left, let me give up. But you know what? 39 days is a lot, and a lot can happen in 39 days. Your entire life can change in 39 days. So we talked about that already, though. And now we're going to talk about starting the new year off really strong. Now, Akina and I like to plan in advance. We both are planners, and one of the actually passions we always have is how far out should we plan our podcast? And, you guys know we bring guests on the call if this is not your first call, especially if you've tuned into our Empowering Women series. Well, we are already booking guests for next summer. I mean, we are already planning what the topics of our show is going to be that far out. We're planners. We like in advance. We already know what projects we're going to work on. We have our business goals set for far in advance. And we do that because in order to be successful, right, in order to achieve anything, you have to have a guide map. You have to know where you're going. You have to have goals. So we're going to be talking a little bit today about why and how, it's important to start planning already for your new year and already starting to plan what you want. And one of my favorite things that I listen to on a regular basis is something by Jim Rohn. For those of you, most people know who he is, and if you don't know who he is, he was one of the most kind of well-known, successful network marketers of all time. And he has since passed, but he has left behind this amazing legacy of amazing business training and mindset training. And one of the things he talks about a lot is goal setting. He actually has, and if you go onto Audible, I want to say I had paid $2 or $3 for it. It was an hour and 15 minutes long, and it's this little clip from a larger presentation he gave a seminar on goal setting. And he talks about the importance of setting goals, and he takes you through this exercise. So in preparation for our call tonight, I went back and listened to it for, oh my goodness, probably the 50th time. And, what he really says is that at one point he had no goals in his life. And one of his amazing mentors had come to him and said, Jim, show me your goal list. I have time to work with you. Let's go through it. And he had said, well, I don't have a goal list. And he said, well, you know what? If you don't have a goal list, I can pretty much tell you how much money is in your bank account down to the dollar. And he did tell, roughly how much money, how many digits were in his bank account. And, at that point, he had said, wow. So he made this connection that if you have goals, that typically you're going to get much further. And that just by setting goals, you're going to wind up accomplishing more. And the amazing thing was that, excuse me, guys. Again, I apologize for my voice tonight. But when I first started off on my journey of personal growth, and this is going back now 2 years ago, and I don't honestly remember what the catalyst was, why I did this initially, but the very, very first thing that I did was I made a goal list. I sat down, and I got a notebook down, and I wrote down all of the goals that I could possibly think of. And I actually have that goal list still. I add to it. It was in a blue spiral-bound notebook, and I have thousands of them now. I started off with just probably around 100 or so, and the pages are falling apart. But I've worked, and since I've done this, some of the goals, which I thought were things that would be take a lifetime to achieve, a lot of them I've already accomplished. And the amazing thing was, what I found is when I started off writing these goals, things started happening very quickly. Excuse me again. Things like I wanted to buy a convertible. within a month of writing that goal down, I had a convertible. It was amazing. I wanted to publish a book, and then I wound up publishing a book very shortly after, within 1 or 2 months after, I wound up publishing my first book, which was a 90-day affirmation and gratitude journal. And it was amazing because you have all these different things I've done. So what I've kind of learned from my own experience, and I have a ritual that I'll talk about that I do this. I used to do this every day. I probably do it a few times a week. But is that when you are aware of what you want, when it's present in your mind because you've taken the time to write it down, and you become more aware of what it is in your environment that will take you there, right? And it's that typical, very classic, and everyone's kind of probably heard this already, that like Volkswagen Jetta principle, right? When you're driving on the highway and someone says Volkswagen Jetta, you may not have noticed any Volkswagen Jettas in the entire car ride, but then all of a sudden it seems like every other car is a Volkswagen Jetta, right? Why? Because all of a sudden it's become relevant to you. So you start to see it. And, another kind of practical example, and I've actually shared this before on the podcast, but I like this example. This happened to me last summer where I was running, and I had a water bottle, and it was a really, really hot day. I was running in the Jersey Shore in the boardwalk, and I had run to the end of the boardwalk, and on the way there, I was drinking my water. So when I got to the end of the boardwalk, I finished the water bottle. It was like 100 degrees out. Something crazy. Everyone was telling me, you're nuts for running, but I don't listen to anybody. So I had got to the end, and I was like, oh, my goodness, I need water to get back because it's really hot out. So I was thinking, okay, well, where am I going to get water? I have no wallet on me. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll find a water fountain. And then I turned around, and within 10 feet, there was a water fountain. I was like, oh, yay, that's awesome. And then what I realized was there was actually a water fountain on every single block. I must have passed 40 or 50 water fountains on the way to the end of the boardwalk, and I passed them on the way back. But I didn't notice them the first time because I didn't have a goal of getting water. It wasn't relevant, right? There's so many things in our environment, and our brain just filters out the things that are not important. So when you establish a goal, what you're really telling your brain to do, and this is the part of your brain that does this, is the response to this. It's called your reticular activating system, your RAS. You're saying, hey, pay attention to this. So if you have a goal of creating, a six-figure income, and maybe you're close to that but not quite there, now you're going to start to notice opportunities to make more income because you've told your brain, pay attention to this. If you want to, set a goal to lose weight, you're going to start to notice friends on Facebook who are posting about nutrition things they're doing because your brain says, hey, this is important. And then you're going to start to achieve those things, and you're going to find that it's much easier, it's much more natural, and it comes much more quickly just by setting those goals. Akina, have you ever had a similar experience to that?
Oh, yes. Well, I guess my journey started around April of last year as well, when I met the wonderful Jessica Likewise. She tends to shift other people's lives without even knowing it. And that's okay, that's part of being just a friend. And I've enjoyed the ride. I really have. She's really helped me to open my eyes and see things totally different because, I'm a techie and I see things black and white. And she has every shade other than black and white, in her spectrum. So, I've learned how to see things and live in color thanks to Miss Jessica. And that includes my planning, whereas, she plans with go to the flow. I plan with okay. And, and when things go off, it's kind of like, But, she's all go with the flow, Kina. So she's definitely helped me in that area. And, I want to interject some of that in there as well. You plan, but life is going to happen. And so you're going to have to be flexible. And that's the part that I'm learning. I'm type A, and I like to do things such and so. If I put it there, I want it to be there, and I want it to be that way. But, life doesn't happen that way. And you have to have a plan B, C, D, and E. Because as I always say, if the original's not working, try the remix. Don't get caught up just because a snafu happened, just because you hit an obstacle. Guess what? Life is full of obstacles. But we're going to be able to change that, just by changing our mindset. I used to freak out when an obstacle came, but now I'm like, okay, so it's there, let's switch to plan B. Bam, B didn't work, let's go to C. B, hello, here's D. And that's the way you're going to have to be in business. You're going to have that A, B, C, and D. Our podcast and our book launches and things have taught us this, and it's okay to have things happen. And it's okay, but the point is how you react to those things, because they're going to happen. If you react to them in positivity, then you are going to end up with a positive result. If you react to it in negativity, then things can go downhill really quickly. And that's one of the things that we've learned in our business. So when you are planning, make sure that you have that in your mindset, in your mind's eye, that, hey, okay, this is the straight path, this is the ideal path, but we do have some other paths that we could take if that doesn't work, but all paths into the same goal. That's the point. All of our plans ends to what? Success. They all lead to success. And even if we do fail, guess what? That's one step closer to a new success, because we know we don't do it that way. We're going to do it a different way. So it all leads to success. And that's one of the things that we need to think about when we're doing our planning. Also, be free to be. Be free to be. It's okay for you to evolve. You made some of these plans 6 months, a year out. Well, things may have evolved during that 6-month time frame. So you might have to switch it up. And that's okay, too. Have a plan for evolving. Have a space so that you can evolve, that you can grow, that you can flip the script. If your audience is telling you to do one thing, if your customers are telling you to do one thing, you had some other plan going. But if they're paying, you're going to go towards more of what they're looking for if they are the paying customer. So it's okay that you have to switch and evolve and move around and shift. It's okay, because that is what makes you a successful business, being able to listen to your clients, being able to listen to your customers, being able to listen to your listeners. That's what's going to make you successful in the end, because you are solving a problem for them. You are giving the customer what they want. It's all about the supply and demand. If you have to shift your supply to meet their demand, that's okay too. That's okay too, and we got to be okay with the shift. It may bug us at the beginning, especially us type A, it may bug us at the beginning. But at the end of the day, we're going to learn that we're going to be flexible, because we're giving the people what they want, because they are consuming the content. What are your thoughts on that, Jess?
I think one of the things I love most about working with you is that we always just approach things a little bit differently. And, I hadn't even thought about that angle when we're talking about planning and just being flexible. But I'm glad that you brought that up. And I was planning on going somewhere totally different, but I really like this. And I think it's really important. For me, I was one of those people, and Akina and I laugh now, because when Akina and I first met, one of the complaints that she always had about me, and not that, we go around complaining about each other, but obviously, right, when you're working with someone, is that I was very inflexible, that I was very, very rigid, and I would set a goal that it would be unreasonable, because I always kind of set too big goals, and the goals were always unreasonable, and I was very, very rigid that it had to happen at a certain time in a certain way, and I would be very, very anxious if it didn't happen that way. And the funny thing about it is that now she thinks I'm like this free spirit who goes with everything, and who's always like, it'll work out, and it's so funny because I laugh about it, but it really does show how much I've changed since we've met, and how much, honestly, and I do want to give myself credit for this, because it is how much work I've done. But I was that person where everything had to look a specific way. And sometimes I would actually set a goal, and I would find out that I would realize that goal was no longer something I wanted. I would actually be angry because I couldn't cross the goal off my list. I thought, like, I can't write. And I write victory over my goals. I don't cross them off. I learned that from a couple of my mentors. Susan Sly talked about doing that. Mark Victor Hansen, I also let him speak live a couple of weeks ago. He talked about doing that, writing victory over your goals. And I was so upset because I said, I can't write victory over these goals. And I would, one of them was I wanted to become a blogger with the company I was with. Well, I'm no longer with that company. I actually quit my job. I'm a full-time entrepreneur, and I have my own blog that actually gets more traffic. So I'm like, well, and I was sitting there beating myself up about wanting to blog for this company. I said, well, I already have something much better, and why am I upset I can't cross this goal off? That's just crazy. And who says I can't cross it off, right? It's my list. If I want to rip it out, if I want to cross it off with lipstick, I can do whatever I want with that, right? I make the rules. That's the cool thing about being an entrepreneur. But really it is about flexibility. And like Akina said, it is going with the flow in the sense that you might have a certain way that you want things to pan out. And it's supposed to look differently. If you learn from experience, it's going to look differently. Well, being flexible is what an entrepreneur is really about. And if you want to be successful, like Akina said, in sales, it's not about what you think it should look like. It's about what it winds up becoming. So, right, I said in the beginning of this call, well, I'm planning our projects for the summer. But if we find out that what we're planning isn't working, that you guys don't like it, you guys listen to the call. If we have our topic set and we find out, okay, we're going to do this series and you don't want it, well, we're going to change it because it's not about us, right? And that's what it really comes down to is being flexible in planning. What it really means is that I have a vision, and I'm going to stand for that vision. But I'm going to stand for that vision. I'm not going to stand my ground. And I heard that quote before, and it says, stand your vision, not your ground. So, in other words, what do you want the result to be? And don't worry so much about what it looks like. But in the same sense, plan and have a plan to get there. And know that, like Akina said, life happens, and sometimes that plan has to change. And, the funny thing is I'm sitting right now in my meditation room, on my meditation rug, and this is once my beautiful sanctuary, and I'm looking around, and I have a bunny, and her name is Grace, and I nicknamed her Gracie, and I just got her. I actually rescued her from a highway. She was on the highway. Someone just left her to die on the highway, and I had saved her. And, I'm sitting here, and this was my beautiful Zen sanctuary. And now I have Gracie here, and I'm doing the podcast, and she's biting at my sweatpants because she wants attention, and she's kicked over her food bowl, so there's food all over my meditation rug. But I wouldn't have it any other way because I love her, and this was not in my plan, but sometimes, we receive things that are even better than we could have imagined. And, what better thing to do, right, than to have in my meditation room an animal that I love and that loves me and that I can share that energy and that bond with. So sometimes, we have something planned for ourselves, but God has something planned bigger and better than what we could have thought of. So don't reject God's gift to you because you're stuck on wanting something smaller. So, with that said, Akina, I hope that answers your question. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add before we close down tonight. I think I've reached the max of what my voice will allow me to talk tonight, and thank you guys again for your patience and bearing with me as I'm hopefully by next Thursday I'll be fully recovered.
Awesome, Jessica. Well, thank you. Yes, you did answer my question. And if something that Jessica and I said resonated with you tonight, please find this podcast on changingmindsonline.com. You can also find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Tuned In, and, of course, our YouTube channel. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in tonight. Jessica usually closes us out, but, we're going to give her a voice of rest. And I'm just going to say we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for listening and for letting us be a part of your development and your experience. Till next time on Thursday, we're not going to have a podcast because it is Thanksgiving. But thank you so much, and we'll see you next Sunday for our inspirational call. Good night, everyone.